changes, we'll keep you up to date. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. Also on the new KVNU mobile app.
News time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Whole Tree Care. An event that is geared for step families is being offered by the Healthy Relationships Office through Utah State University Extension. It's called Smart Steps for Step Families, a free 7-week course. And on KVNU's For the People program on Wednesday, program coordinator Chantel Canigan said all families face some challenges.
But on the step families, they might have extra in-laws, and they have other significant others in this combination that do add a little bit more complications that we help and give tools for, so just to help people out to be more successful.
She said they are making the class very easy to attend with different class times and dates to fit different schedules.
We typically offer 7 to 10 different classes a month.
Wow.
And they are online. They are in person at libraries from Centerville down to St. George. We also offer at 2 of our agencies. We partner with them, and they teach the whole family. So that is a really cool place. They have one at the Family Place in Logan and the Family Support and Treatment Center of Ogden.
Canigan said they will teach the adults, but they also have a watered-down version to assist teens and younger kids, and it's all free. To find out more, go to healthyrelatationships.utah.org. KVNU News Time is 5:06. KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, low around 30, and then a slight chance of rain showers Friday morning, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon tomorrow, high around 50. 40% chance of showers Friday night. Rain and snow likely Saturday morning, and rain and snow possibility in the afternoon with accumulations possible. High temperature on Saturday around 40. It's been to 57. It's 55 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. During the Napa Spring Gold Filter Sale, all Napa Gold filters are up to 60% off. If it has a filter, it's on sale. 5 locally owned, Preston to Providence, Napa Auto Parts stores.
Is it too early to bring up yard work?
What?
Okay, but this is different. I'm talking about tree pruning. I know we haven't escaped winter yet, but right now is the best time to prune your trees. And the only thing you have to do is call Whole Tree Care, 760-6587. Right now they're offering an exclusive radio discount, so be sure to ask for it when you call, 760-6587. Get ahead of the spring rush. Get your trees and shrubs trimmed by Whole Tree Care, 760-6587.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. The members of the Logan City Council got an earful of public comment on the issue of local short-term rental properties at their regular meeting Tuesday, but still deferred judgment on the thorny issue until mid-April. Community Development Director Mike DeSimone explained that Logan has about 50 such properties, which are commonly referred to as Airbnbs, or VRBOs within its boundaries, but the city has few regulations that govern these properties. Even before Council Chair Jeannie Simmons opened the scheduled public hearing on the topic, Council member Tom Jensen suggested that the city seek input from the neighborhood councils representing the Adams, Bridger, Ellis, Hillcrest, Wilson, and Woodruff areas of the city. 7 Logan residents spoke briefly on the pros and cons of Airbnbs and VRBO properties, with their comments being about evenly divided. The original goal of the public hearing was to gather information to settle a difference of opinion between city staffers and members of the Logan Planning Commission regarding short-term rentals. Rather than choosing one of those 2 options, the members of the city voted unanimously to defer any decision until their meeting on April 19th. That delay will give DeSimone time to forward information about the issue to Logan's 6 neighborhood councils, and for those panels to forward their collective wisdom to members of the council. And a 13-year-old boy is in critical condition after a scooter crash in Eagle Mountain Wednesday afternoon. Sergeant Spencer Cannon with the Utah County Sheriff's Office said a call came in just before 4 p.m. reporting an auto pedestrian accident near North Horizon Drive. Fox 13 reports that initial information shows a 13-year-old male on a scooter may have gone through a stop sign and hit the left front side of a car. The driver of the car was a 19-year-old and was cooperative with officers at the time of the incident. The 13-year-old was taken to the hospital in critical condition. KVNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology is Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Paul Danes by calling 753-HEAR or visit CacheHearing.com.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
The Best of Northern Utah, presented by Campbell Snacks, home of Pepperidge Farm, is back.
Best of Northern Utah.
Support your favorite businesses by nominating them now at bestofnorthernutah.com. Have a favorite restaurant? Nominate them. Love where you buy your car or where you get your hair done? Nominate them for Best of Northern Utah, the area's biggest celebration of local business. Couldn't live without your gym or your favorite plumber? Nominate them all right now at bestofnorthernutah.com. Presented by Campbell Snacks, home of Pepperidge Farm.
Best of Northern Utah.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Thursday, March 3rd. With a special extended movie show tomorrow, I realize on the final day of the legislative session, we're only going to have about 20 minutes to cover what's happened on that final day. So we'll spend some time on what's happened so far this week again later on this hour. We'll wrap up the show with that. Again, tomorrow night at midnight, they have to be done. They'll probably wrap up a little earlier than that. If you haven't had a chance to play along, the calendar, the live streams, the video, the search box for lawmakers' names, bill text, subject matter, and more, all of that at le.utah.gov. But stay tuned. We'll recap today on Capitol Hill coming up in just a bit. Kicking things off here this hour, though, with a very special guest. We've been checking in with them on a regular basis so far this year, and we'll continue to do so throughout the year because the Family Place is celebrating 40 years with a year-long campaign called Here's to 40 Years. They've got very special events planned. They are stepping up their game, even above and beyond what they were already doing to help families in northern Utah, Rich County, Box Elder County, even Franklin County, and here in Cache County as well. The Family Place serves a very critical role for families, for children, and it can range from, giving a stressed-out parent a 2-hour break, somewhere where their kid can come and play, and they can go to a dentist appointment, to critical services, clinical services that can really mean the difference in a child's life and in a parent's sanity, to be blunt. The Family Place has been in operation again for 40 years, and you can learn more about them and even make a donation through their Starfish Giving virtual vending machine on the Family Place website, thefamilyplaceutah.org. Joining us right now, though, we are joined by a clinical director at the Family Place Utah, Reece Neilsen. And Reece, appreciate taking some time for KVNU today. It's been fun for us, Reece, to just sort of go through one by one so far this year and talk to different people there at the Family Place who do very different things. And we've had a chance to talk about, how the education programs are coordinated, how the community outreach and even emergency services are coordinated. And now you're here with us today to talk about something that I describe it as a critical service that the Family Place Utah provides here in northern Utah, but I'm sure you could do it better justice than that. What is a clinical director at an organization like the Family Place?
Well, that's a great question, and so my role is to oversee a full program of services that are based on our therapy services, but there's a lot of other things that are related to that. And so anywhere from the budget side to planning and all the envisioning where we're going to grow and how we're going to do that so that we can get the people we need here to do the work that needs done. So, yep. That's it in a nutshell.
It's. I use the word critical because the families, that you're serving, the families that are coming to the Family Place with a need, this isn't easy stuff to find elsewhere.
Yeah, there's just a whole world of need out there, and there seemed to be a shortage of therapists and therapy services throughout our community, but every community I've lived in, it's been the same. And there's so much trauma that goes on in the lives of not only of children but of adults, and it affects families tremendously.
Sure. And
working through all that just takes a lot of resource to help somebody through that. So, yeah.
It's something that, I think for the rest of us, it's easy to assume, this is taken care of. There's a service out there, there's a program out there, and I know a lot of what you folks do there at Family Place is that type of education, right? Like letting people know that there is a service available that could be a huge assistance.
Yes, and we want to make sure that people are aware that there is help available. There is individual therapy. There's also couples therapy and family therapy. There's a lot of group-based therapy that we provide, but also a lot of places in the community. And we take the opportunity when we interact with people to try to also connect them across the community. So a lot of folks don't know how many other places there are out there, so we'll try to direct them to other places when we can't meet their needs here, or even if we can meet some of their needs here, trying to connect them elsewhere. It's a big project, and I read a recent study lately where, a report on a long-term ongoing study where as much as 85% of us will experience a mental illness or meet the diagnostic criteria for a mental illness in our lifetimes. And for a lot of us, it'll be more than one. It'll be different ones. And, we think about going to a doctor, and everybody kind of goes to a doctor. But we still are in the habit of thinking that therapy is for some, like a rare few, at least sometimes it seems like people think that way. But in reality, that's the norm. We all face these critical issues. We all get sick in our bodies at times. We also face mental illness at times, and that's just part of our experience.
Sure, that's and it's something that we're all learning, and maybe later than we should to find healthier ways to talk about, and to be willing to turn to someone else for help. And that's what makes the work of the Family Place such an important service here in Cache Valley. There at the Family Place, I know y'all have dealt with families that have been, dealing with for example, a difficult move. Someone lost a job or got a new job, and they moved, and the kids lost all their friends at their old school, and it's causing some turmoil in the home. And so you help them talk through that type of thing. And then on a far more serious end of the spectrum, families who have dealt with, maybe a suicide in the family or suicide ideation, and you take them and you provide services that otherwise they might not know where to turn. How do you decide how to approach these vastly different challenges that might come up for a family?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one of the things that we've built in for our system is we just offer a free screening appointment for anyone, and then we also offer crisis appointments. Just hopefully within a day or two of a person calling. This allows us to just connect with the person there and help figure out what their needs are and get them connected. But it needs said, and it's a big problem throughout our system, that for a lot of people they will face wait times up to several months. So and for others we were able to get them right in, and it can be anywhere in between. So it's as far as our system goes, it's a cry for help for folks to get a therapy degree and become a therapist.
Sure. Honestly, it's a great need out there, and as you said, sometimes this can mean resources are months down the road in a situation where someone might not have that time.
Yeah.
But that's sort of why you guys offset some of this with, I always use this as an example, Reece, because people, I think, almost scoff at the idea, but to me, it seems like one of the most important things you could provide at certain times. I remember back when I was a very young child, and there was a lot going on in my family with a younger sister who was ill, parents working and trying to make the budget meet, as difficult as that could be every month. There was a stress at times, and my parents my mom especially, did a great job of shielding us from that, but kids still pick up on it. And I think about a service like what the Family Place offers, where a parent could say, here, take my kids for 2 hours. I've got to go to a dentist appointment and sit at a park for 10 minutes and collect my brain. That's critical, right?
It really is. It really is, and it's important to build an array of services that hit across all types of needs. We have a lot of parents, and I know I've experienced it myself, just that wall of what do I do. And so getting into some of the parenting classes that use some of the most up-to-date research and information can just be a lifesaver, especially when you're facing parenting that isn't simple. So having that whole array, the respite care and the education services, the therapy services, makes a big difference. And we encourage folks, if they're thinking about the need for services, it's best to proceed to contact places and get on those wait lists and get the ball rolling, because even for the respite care, it may be a wait time, and you might feel like you need it now.
Sure.
So we say, go ahead, call and get things going earlier rather than waiting until a moment of desperation.
Sure. And just to give listeners an example of some of the resources that are available right now, or that, as Reece said, you could get the ball rolling on through the Family Place, ongoing items like peer support groups and positive parenting classes. There on March 9th, there's a virtual youth mental health first aid course. Strengthening the couple, and as we discussed yesterday on the show, the Smart Steps for Step Families program running through USU, the Family Place helping to organize and promote that. Youth Horses Helping Humans Heal, taking young horses and young adults and putting them together to help each other. Art is a part of this, as Reece has described, clinical services and just a place for kids to play. There's a million things going on. check out their website. TheFamilyPlaceUtah.org has an events calendar. And then, Reece, I have to highlight this every time. I just think it's the coolest way to fundraise, and I hope our listeners take advantage as often as they can afford to. But the Starfish Giving Machine at TheFamilyPlaceUtah.org, you can actually, like a vending machine for snacks, you can sort of pick what your donation's going towards. You can fill the tank on the Family Place van. You can buy one of these stuffed black lab puppies for $20 that then is given to a child as a sort of a therapy animal stand-in. You can buy basketballs for the game rooms. You can help fund programs directly. This is a really creative way to fundraise, but with it being a 40-year anniversary, for you, Reece, as a doctor, as someone who is on the more serious side of the service that the Family Place provides, what does 40 years mean to you?
I think it's a great thing that the Family Place has come this far, and just the growth that it's experienced because it is so good. You wouldn't believe the positive energy that flows through this place, and so 40 years to me means a lot more years to come and a lot of vitality. So. It's
great stuff, and we're so glad that you're here providing it, and also glad you're able to give us some of your time today. Our guest again has been Reece Neilsen, clinical director of the Family Place, and he is one of the team there that oversees, again, some of the more serious services that they provide as far as clinical help, counseling even, and more. As Reece said, get the ball rolling if you have a need, and regardless of what that need is, you can start at thefamilyplaceutah.org. Contact information there as well if you'd like to reach out by phone. If you just want to give them a hand with a donation from $5 to $100, check out the Starfish Giving Machine. If you're a business out there, they are looking for sponsors and support for this 40th anniversary year-long celebration as well. And everything you need to know, again, at thefamilyplaceutah.org, serving all of northern Utah, Box Elder County, Cache County, Rich County, and even Franklin County for 40 years now. The Family Place is still going strong. Thefamilyplaceutah.org. Reece, again, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for your time. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, everyone. It's Congressman Blake Moore. Please join me for a public telephone town hall event on Monday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I look forward to addressing any questions you have. Call in Monday, March 7th at 7 p.m. Mountain Time at 833-305-1678. That's 833-305-1678. It's an honor to serve you, and I look forward to hearing from you on Monday. Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. Go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
This is Police Chief Gary Jensen from Logan City Police Department. A number of scams are occurring throughout our city and county. These scams are highly emotional and demand immediacy that you pay, and you pay now. They will say they are from the IRS, the Sheriff's Office, the Police Department, utility companies, medical facilities, or even romance scams. The scammers do their homework. They can do a simple check on the internet of your name and find out where you live, where you used to live, even people that are associated with your name. They are always highly emotional phone calls that demand immediate payment or something bad will happen. Slow down and diffuse by asking questions. If they want you to pay with Bitcoin or gift cards, this is a scam. Be careful. Hang up the phone call is the best thing that you can do. Again, slow down and think. React by hanging up, and don't become a victim.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks to Dr. Neilsen again, Reece Neilsen, a PhD, clinical director of the Family Place at the Family Place Utah. Again, the work they're doing there is so unique and irreplaceable. It's not a lot of these services. Well, you wouldn't find them combined at an organization almost anywhere else. And a lot of these services, even if available elsewhere, are, as Reece said, more difficult to get in line for. So check them out. You can call them. Again, they have a 24/7 professional caring support line at 752-8880. And then, of course, their website has all their contact information, their Starfish Giving Machine, detailed description of events and programs and more. And that is thefamilyplaceutah.org. They're celebrating 40 years with the Here's to 40 Years campaign this year, and we'll be checking in with them regularly throughout the year as part of that 40-year celebration. So a listener pointed this out, and I'd forgotten about this as well, but that this is not the first time that we've spoken with Reece here at the Cache Valley Media Group. Charlie Schill, in fact, who just Rod Bohm, not Charlie Schill. Rod Bohm at CacheValleyDaily.com had actually spoken with Reece a while ago for a CacheValleyDaily.com story back in June of 2020 after, there was an obituary that caught national headlines for its honesty and bluntness about why a certain individual was no longer with us. And Reece was quoted in that story, speaking as clinical director of the Family Place, saying, being able to talk about some of these things more honestly instead of gloss them over with a euphemism or even a falsehood is far more healthy for us as individuals, as a society. And so a listener had remembered the name from that and sent the story along. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, and I'd forgotten about that myself. So, all right, legislative session, man. I'm prepared for this every year as a legislative junkie because I know it happens, but it still is surprising each year how quickly things move in the final days. It's just there's a lot they're trying to get done. Though I still say they'll wrap up early tomorrow. Tomorrow is the final day of the legislative session, and they have technically up until midnight. When they used to wrap up on Thursdays each year before the change that kicked in just this year, starting a week later and ending at the end of the week, rather than going for 3 days and then pausing for Martin Luther King Jr. Day and then starting back up. They shifted their schedule a bit, and this also allowed for what they described as a more fair scenario as far as incumbents filing for re-election, which, by the way, I haven't heard. I'm sure they have, but I haven't heard confirmation of incumbents here in Cache Valley filing for re-election this week. They have until tomorrow to do that, the same day the legislative session ends. They're not allowed to campaign at all. Their opponents can and challengers can, but elected officials, while serving, doing the people's work for this 45-day session, not allowed to campaign. But they now, in the final week of the session, have to refile for candidacy. The reason this makes sense is one, it levels the playing field a bit. It doesn't cheat incumbents as much as it used to with the schedule for filing. But it also, if anyone's not going to rerun, they usually announce in the final days of the legislative session anyway. So the filing deadline falling on that same day, it makes sense even to me. So that's why the change. There's been some suspicion about this, that it was so incumbents could cheat in the final weeks of the legislative session and use the session to promote their filing for candidacy. And maybe, but who cares really? I mean, is that going to make or break an election or change the outcome of an election? I say likely not. So I haven't heard of anyone. I'm sure they have, but I haven't heard of anyone officially filing for re-election yet in Cache Valley, except for Val Potter. I've heard that Val Potter, who will be taking on... Now, there's going to be some confusion on this, by the way. And in fact, I fell for it. When I first got the email from Potter's team announcing that he was going to be seeking to take back that seat after losing it in the last go-round to Mike Peterson, he said he would be running for District 2, House District 2. And I being a nice person, I emailed his team back and said, don't you mean District 3 here in Cache Valley? And they corrected me, and I said, no, by the time this all happens, it won't kick in until January 1st of 2023. But anyone in that district right now that is District 3 will actually be running for District 2, because in January 1st of 2023, it becomes District 2 thanks to redistricting. It's going to be confusing for a lot of folks, but yeah. So Val Potter has officially filed, I've been told, for that race as a candidate in House District 2, what you currently know as House District 3, the northern part of the valley, roughly. And that's the only confirmation I've gotten on anyone filing to run for re-election. Although, again, I'm sure the others have and just haven't made an announcement yet. It is going to be interesting. In the next few days, you're going to see a lot of lawmakers. The reason I say that we'll see them all file for re-election here in Cache Valley is we have new lawmakers, but we also have some that haven't been there that long. If anyone was going to retire, it would maybe be Representative Johnson or Representative Snyder, one of those two. It's not going to be either of them. Representative Johnson has a lot that he's still working on. In fact, he'll have some bills going to interim study, education-related things that he's already talked about, so he's not going to retire. And Representative Snyder, I know, he's not the newest, but he's one of the newer, and he's also very young, so he's not retiring anytime soon. So I guarantee they'll file for re-election, but again, the only name that I've received confirmation of was Val Potter has filed for re-election as a candidate, since technically it wouldn't be his re-election, though it is the seat he held once before. Val Potter has filed as a candidate in what is currently House District 3, will, by the time 2023 comes around, be known as House District 2 instead, because of the shifting in the map, thanks to redistricting. Thanks to the listener who asked about that, and as we hear more, I'm sure by tomorrow we'll be able to, if nothing else, check the elections website and see for sure who has filed or if there are any surprise retirements, but I doubt it. I would be very surprised if anyone in Cache Valley retires this year. That doesn't mean there aren't a lot of retirements in the legislature, though. That's part of what shook things up a bit on Capitol Hill today, as well as the finalized fate decided on many, many bills. The House and the Senate were on a bit of a, I don't know, this was like a speed round of either passing or killing bills today on Capitol Hill. We'll talk about what died and what moves ahead right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:37. The news is brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Residents all over the state, including northern Utah, are being asked to test the speed of their internet connections at home, work, or wherever they connect. The Utah Broadband Center, powered by the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, has launched a statewide internet speed test campaign for Utahns to support their internet speed. Data from the Utah Internet Speed Test will be mapped and used to identify areas of low or no access to high-speed internet in the state. The information will be used to help the state understand internet availability throughout Utah. All Utahns are encouraged to go to speedtest.utah.gov to self-report their internet speed. Individuals can also identify areas with low or no service or where access to the internet is unaffordable with this test and survey. Ryan Starks, Go Utah's Managing Director of Business Services, said in a release that access to reliable and affordable internet connectivity has become increasingly important in our daily lives, and without it, individuals lack access to critical digital resources such as distance learning, telework, and telemedicine. Crews from the Utah National Guard and the Nevada National Guard safely removed two Black Hawk helicopters that crashed last week near Snowbird. The UH-60 helicopters went down during a training exercise February 22nd. None of the service members were seriously injured. Authorities said that the Black Hawk UH-60 helicopters were sling-loaded by a CH-47 Chinook helicopter and transported to the Heber Valley Airport. The first helicopter was brought down around 3 p.m. The second one was successfully brought down just before 4 p.m. And climatologists in the U.S. Pacific Northwest warn that much of Oregon and parts of Idaho can expect even tougher drought conditions this summer than in the previous 2 years. Water and climate experts from Oregon, Washington, and Idaho said at a news conference called by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration that parts of the region should prepare now for severe drought and wildfires. KVNU News Time is 5:39.
The planet Earth has been rotating around the sun for 4.5 billion years. Since the dawn of man, we have been crafting and refining tools to dig into the Earth's surface.
Oh, me dig. Me tired.
But it wasn't until today that digging could be so much fun.
Me digging this.
Northern Steel Buildings will dig for you. Have them build you a hay barn, shop, warehouse, or if it's time to expand your business with a new facility, they'll move the earth around to make it happen. See their work online at northernsteelbuilding.com.
KVNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, low around 30, slight chance of rain showers Friday morning, then a chance of rain showers in the afternoon, cloudy around 50, 40% chance of rain showers Friday night, and then rain and snow likely Saturday morning, rain and snow in the afternoon, accumulations possible, high around 40. It's been to 57, it's 53 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by Roof Rescue. Even if you are denied by your insurance company the first time you receive a quote to fix your roof, a free reevaluation can be made. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free consultation. That's roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind. For more details on these and other stories, visit cashvalleydaily.com.
The Ski-Doo Spring Tour is here in Salt Lake City. This is your chance to meet the 2023 Ski-Doo lineup and the all-new Rev Gen 5 platform. Equipped with the 180 horsepower 850 E-Tech Turbo R engine, Ski-Doo Deep Snow sleds now offer the best power-to-weight ratio on snow. Come discover the next generation of that Ski-Doo feeling at the Salt Lake Equestrian Park in Jordan. Our experts will be on site to answer all your questions. See you there.
West Liberty Foods in Tremonton is excited to announce that they've increased their starting wages to $17 per hour for general production and to $19 per hour for machine operators and forklift operators. A shift premium is added on for the second shift of $1.50 per hour. West Liberty Foods offers paid vacations, attendance rewards, 401k, medical, dental, and vision insurance. Looking for part-time work? Pick the days you'd like to work. Call West Liberty Foods at 435-207-7000 to speak with a recruiter today.
Over 2.8 million Americans have served in our military since 9/11. Many have returned home with devastating injuries and few resources for them and their families. This is news correspondent Bob Woodruff. I sustained a life-threatening injury while reporting from Iraq in 2006. The military had my back that day, and they have each other's while serving. It's time we had theirs. Please join us as part of the Got Your Six initiative. To learn more, go to gotyour6.org using the number 6.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News, the different scenarios that could determine the outcome of the war against Ukraine, like Russia stepping up its firepower in order to advance. Also, Republicans are looking to expand the battleground map of the November midterms outside of the typical swing states. We'll explain how. And students reneging on internships when a better offer comes along. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Quick note on tomorrow's show, we'll be finishing part 2 of the Batman retrospective in light of The Batman, as it's called, with Robert Pattinson in that starring role opening this weekend. Andy Morgan and Sam Morgan back with us for part 2. There was a bit of shakeup. The plan was we were going to do this 2 weekends in a row, or 2 Fridays in a row, and then have a review on the third Friday, have a review of the Batman. But due to some unexpected changes in both Andy and Sam's schedule, last Friday we just did a traditional movie show, talked about what was new in theaters. And so now a week late, we're getting to part 2 of that Batman retrospective. It's been really interesting to look back over. So Andy and Sam, what they did is they went back to the first. They started with the earliest Batman, and they've just been working their way through each and every movie and iteration. And, Sam a little more familiar with the comic side of the Batman legacy, so he's talking about that a little bit. And it's just been fun to see how Batman has changed and evolved throughout all these different eras, really, because it was kind of a reflection of the times as well that you see with Batman. And Bill, I know you and I, we've both seen the original Batman TV show.
Yeah.
And it's sort of looked back on as campy and
it was kind of a comedy almost.
Yeah, like a comedy, but that was also kind of a reflection of the times. If you had tried to sell a Christopher Nolan Batman with Heath Ledger's Joker to audiences from that era.
The networks would never let it on.
And even in theaters, people would have boycotted. They would have that was not what audiences wanted. It was
a different era.
Yeah. And it was an era that was reacting to its own times in a way through, as all generations do. We tend to, not even generations, but little periods of time where the public, we all react to the world around us with our entertainment choices. And it's interesting. And it's not always predictable. Science fiction of the 1950s has always been an intriguing thing for me, because if you go back and watch 1950s and early 60s science fiction, you can obviously see this is entertainment trying to process the fact that we now have nuclear weapons, and so do other places, and Hiroshima, and this nothing like an anti-science perspective that you see unfortunately bubbling up a lot in the last few years, especially with the vaccines and the pandemic, but sort of a science hesitancy. That's even too strong. But you see these almost like warning signs of a lot of movies, a lot of science fiction in the 1950s and early 60s was kind of about science run amok. Science without any guardrails. Science without that old adage, just because you can, should you? That was the theme of a lot of this. And otherness. That was another, it was a big scary thing, and it was a part of it was the Cold War. It was a society constantly living in fear of a nuclear attack from foreign adversaries. Even though that wasn't likely, it was something on everyone's minds, and it was something that everyone was trying to process for the first time in the history of mankind. So it's reflected in the media, and when you go back, when you listen to Andy and Sam, the previous episode and what they'll have to discuss tomorrow on the show, you can actually see this playing out. You can see Batman as a reflection of what was going on and what was really, dominating. And that's what's so interesting to me about the 90s Batman, because the 90s, that was a weird decade. It was, the 80s were weird, and then the 90s said, hold my drink. and it was a time of luxury and excess, and, there were wars, but they were small, in the public eye at least, small skirmishes. Politics got heated at times, but really the biggest scandal was the Monica Lewinsky thing, which, British and French politicians were looking at us going, really? You're upset about? I mean, that's every day over here. It was a time of relative luxury, and that's reflected in the 90s Batmans, where the villains are untethered.
Michael Keaton, for crying out loud.
Yeah, right? Mr. Mom. Suddenly he's Batman. Yeah, and even just a different kind of hero. And then you contrast that, as we will tomorrow on the show, with Christopher Nolan's Batman, and you can really see how things changed in a decade from, a superhero that is of a certain type in the 90s, starting with Tim Burton's 89 movie and on through the 90s with Joel Schumacher and all of that, a different type of Batman and a different type of villain. And then, Christopher Nolan comes along and has big success with a darker Batman and very twisted, troubled villains, not, Jim Carrey laughing it off as the Riddler. So it's... A lot of people, I think, tend to chalk this up to, standards have changed. You can get a bit more dark and a bit more, even visceral in movies and still get a PG-13 rating. But if you think about it, none of the Batman movies have any of that. There's not gore. There's violence, but it's punching and whacking sounds, more than horror movie violence. And but it is still darker, and so I think that's a reflection of what made the superheroes popular in the first place in the first comics, more than 100 years ago, and why people gravitate towards this type of thing. And then it becomes almost a perfect reflection of what's worrying everybody at the time and how people feel about the world around them. So we'll talk about that more tomorrow on the show, in the For the People movie show, extended edition, a bit longer than just 1 hour. And we'll also, cap this off, a retrospective on Batman in celebration of Robert Pattinson's Batman, The Batman, as it's called, entering theaters this weekend. So be sure to tune in for that tomorrow. The reason I bring that up today is not just to promote the movie show, that's part of it, but also this was a topic on Capitol Hill today. When it comes to the legislation that's been passed. Now, obviously, a big factor in the legislative session this year has been the fact that they have a lot of money to spend. Some will argue they shouldn't. Some will argue they're not spending enough. They're going to spend it. This is what they do. It's part of the budgeting process. And, when it comes to the federal money, if they don't spend it, it goes to another state. So they're going to spend it. And there's still a lot of federal aid from ARPA. There's a lot of federal money coming to Utah through the infrastructure bill passed last fall. And they're going to decide where all of that's going. Even if the checks don't actually get cashed until 2023 on some of this stuff, they're going to decide this year where it's going. And the budget is looking to be, it is large. Going to be very large. But we have some of the earliest actual numbers on this and why some are saying the Utah legislature is being a bit short-sighted where some of this money is going. For example, today on Capitol Hill, lawmakers killed a bill that would have provided a tax incentive for large fleets and transportation companies moving to cleaner fuels or more efficient vehicles. There would be a huge tax incentive for them to do that at a more rapid pace than we've seen them do so far. That bill died for some reason. On the flip side, the $40 million slush fund for the Great Salt Lake, which is what I'm going to keep calling it until we start to see some more transparency around where the money's going to go, because it could go towards things that are great for water and in general from upstream and downstream, but it could also just go to a bunch of people who happen to have the personal cell phone of certain lawmakers or leadership members, and at which point we've just wasted $40 million and the Great Salt Lake's still in trouble. So keep a close eye on this one, but that bill is officially done. Earlier this morning, it headed off to the governor. $40 million in taxpayer money will be put into something called the Save the Great Salt Lake Fund, with the goal of putting this towards anything and everything that would help to mitigate the stresses we're putting on the Great Salt Lake and its water levels, which is about 11 feet lower than it was when Utah was founded. That was an interesting bit of information presented by a state senator today on the floor as the bill was debated. So that's one of the biggest bills that happened today. But another discussion popped up. It's been a kind of unfriendly to the city's legislative session, and that came to a head today, and legislative leadership scrambling to try and do their best to make nicey nice after several bills tying the hands of cities on many different fronts, sailed through the last 24 hours. We'll talk about it right after this.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you.
Dan and Stacy Jessup adhere to principles of honesty and integrity. They love guiding individuals through the Medicare process at no additional cost. They will simplify the process guaranteed. Call Jessup Insurance 435-213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you.
The Beaver Mountain Ski Shop will be holding free demo days on Saturday, March 5th and Sunday, March 6th. Demo days will be set up out in front of the lodge beginning at 11 a.m. each day. A credit card will be held as collateral. It's a 2-on-2, meaning you'll be able to take 2 runs on 2 different demo skis or snowboards of your choice. Come and enjoy the best skis and snowboards they have to offer at Beaver Mountain's free demo days, March 5th and 6th. Come on up and ski the Beav.
UNI Furniture stocked up with a wide variety of home furnishings. You've heard us talk about their chair department before. It's chair heaven. A big variety means a good chance UNI will have what you're looking for. Also, UNI, your mattress headquarters, including Therapeutic and Maloof. See the new Therapeutic Synthesis. It's a hybrid mattress with inner springs and copper-infused memory foam that helps keep you sleeping cooler and more comfortable. Also, check out the Therapeutic HD mattress line, built for support for all those with weight concerns. UNI Furniture, downtown Logan for over 90 years. Always a better buy at UNI.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Some animosity bubbling up this legislative session between cities and the legislature, and it kind of came to a head today over a bill that, I don't know what the impetus for this bill is or if it's a good idea. It seems just at first glance like maybe an unnecessary thing that's come about because a lobbyist happened to talk to the right lawmaker, and but the build-up to this started with there's irritation in Salt Lake City because of the legislature basically trying to write Salt Lake City out of the tax revenue that might come from this inland port they're still in a rush to build, which I have to point out is kind of ironic. Our lawmakers like to say often we don't want the Californication coming to Utah. Nothing says California like a port, right? But I do think this is a great idea overall if it's done carefully. To have, an inland port where Utah becomes a bit of a shipping exchange, not only for exporters right here in the state, but also for access to a lot of things that would then come through Utah. This could also, to be fair, end up being one of the most expensive boondoggles the previous leadership of the legislature that got the ball rolling on this ever conceived. So that remains to be seen. But either way, Salt Lake City fought tooth and nail on this, and to their credit, made some changes. And that's kind of where things started. And throughout the legislative session, this theme has kept up with the legislature. Everything from bills saying that cities could not impose noise ordinances already in the books. We're not talking about new noise ordinances. A bill saying that cities could not enforce their noise ordinances if it was noise coming from a licensed business. That understandably created a lot of controversy. That bill is currently in limbo after that controversy, and this appears to be one lawmaker going after city officials in Moab, which seems kind of petty, but it happens. Another bill that falls, and these are just a few examples of probably 11 different bills that I've been tracking along these lines because I'm curious where this is coming from, is why I've been tracking them. But another example, with time short here, is a bill that basically says to cities, you can't craft your own ordinances and regulations on animals, pets, puppy mills, things like that. Several cities had taken steps to ban puppy mills within their boundaries, saying, go to the shelter. There's already enough animals out there. These puppy mills make a lot of money for people, but they're not really that good of an idea if you look at things large scale. So within our cities, we will not allow puppy mills to operate. And then they would have a definition of what a puppy mill is. We're not talking about someone who has their dog, is bred and then they sell the puppies. We're talking about a mill that churns them out over and over and over, thousands at a time in some cases. There are some here in Cache Valley. And this bill, which passed one chamber today and now is in limbo in the other, said cities aren't allowed to do that. Well, cities, of course, responded and said, what gives? Where's this coming from? Why are you at the legislature telling every city in the state, while talking out the other side of your mouth about limited government and small local government being the best, and here you are telling cities they can't do this, they can't do that. Seems to be a lot of it this session. Well, it came to a head today in the Senate media availability, and Senate President Stuart Adams said maybe they do need to tone it down. He kind of confessed a little that some of his peers on Capitol Hill might be taking it a bit too far when it comes to the relationship with cities. But President Adams said he feels they still have a great relationship with cities in the state, but maybe they could work on improving that a bit as lawmakers. 2 days left in the session. We'll see if it happens. Dave Ramsey is next.